We have a few updates to the Sony A9 Mark III and the A7R V, thanks to Andrea at Sony Alpha Rumors. First up, the Sony A7R V. The Sony A7R V is supposed to have somewhere between a 61 and 100 megapixel sensor. Some of the rumors are saying 61 megapixels, but in a recent interview I had with Andrea, he thinks that there's a very strong possibility that the A7R V will be closer to or approaching 100 megapixels. So I would be more inclined to believe the 100 megapixels over the 61 megapixels. And that rumor that said it was going to be around 61 megapixels said basically it was going to have the same sensor resolution, but an updated processor or an updated sensor that would allow the processing of more data. Yeah, I'm not really believing this. Both Sony and Canon are rumored to be working on 100 megapixel cameras, and I think the Sony A7R V would certainly fit that bill. What's also interesting about the Sony A7R V is the various different video resolutions. Andreas wasn't able to confirm that it's going to have 8K, but he thinks there's a high likelihood that it's going to happen. So as you can see here by the graphic, we've got some really incredible modes. It can do 8K, 24, 25, and 30 frames per second, according to the rumors. But rumors are kind of going between it's either going to be a full sensor readout, it's going to be Super 35. We just don't know at this point. And other resolutions, we got 4K 24, 25 oversampled. We have 4K 30, Super 35 oversampled, and we have 4K 60 with a 1.24 times crop. So various different resolutions. I'm a little unsure about this camera. It seems to have some very, very powerful video resolutions and frame rates. It seems to be better than the A7S III, better to some degree than the Sony Alpha 1. But again, this is a rumor, and I'm really curious to see how this camera is going to shape out. A 100 megapixel sensor, or even a 60 megapixel sensor, does pose some challenges for doing video, especially at high frame rates. So what about timeline? And that's one of the updates we got from Sony Alpha Rumors. Andrea said that it's confirmed that it is going to be in 2022. It is going to be in the second half, but again, based on material shortages or component shortages, semiconductor shortages, you name it, there's a whole list of items that are in the mix, just making things a complete nightmare for companies to not only manufacture things, but to actually get them in our hands. So it's definitely going to be in 2022, but will it be the third quarter or the fourth quarter? And now for the Sony A9 Mark III. It's going to have a 24 megapixel full frame BSI stacked sensor. One thing that Sony Alpha Rumors did confirm in the update is that it's going to be a much bigger upgrade over the A9 Mark II. But in terms of date, and this is the other thing he said, while initially the rumors were that this is going to come out after the A7R V, it's also going to come out in 2022, most likely fourth quarter. Doesn't look like that's going to be the case anymore. It looks like the A9 Mark III is actually going to come out in the first half of 2023. Will it be announced in January or maybe even March, April, or even May? We just don't know. But another camera is getting pushed out of 2022 into 2023. And I think this is sad. But in terms of the capabilities, the A9 Mark III looks to be a very solid camera, but I do have problems with the rumors for a very simple reason. When the A9 Mark II came out back in around, I think, October of 2019, we didn't have the Sony Alpha 1. I can't see the A9 Mark III punching too high above the Mark II because we have the Sony Alpha 1, and the Sony Alpha 1 was released just last year. About a year ago, I think they started going on sale in March, and they were announced back in January. It's kind of a strange place to be. Sony can't go ahead and really make this a super powerful camera. They can't go ahead and upgrade every single capability, pushing it up close to where the Alpha 1 is, or even exceeding the Alpha 1 in some capabilities. A 24 megapixel sensor, it's definitely half that of the Alpha 1 with 50 megapixels, but to be able to produce 30 frames per second lossless, well, that is something that some want that others don't. To be able to produce fast action photography for those that want to be able to hold down the shutter button, spray and pray, and to get that shot no matter what, 30 frames per second lossless matters. I'm afraid that the A9 Mark III and the Sony Alpha 1 might become a little bit too close, and then people start wondering, which one should I buy? It's like the Canon EOS R3. It's a camera with a price point that doesn't seem to make sense in Canon's lineup. Not when you consider that the R1 is going to be coming out probably sometime early in 2023. The R3 at $6,000 is $500 more than the Nikon Z9 and just $500 away from the Sony Alpha 1. Sure, it's a good camera. Sure, it's a very good camera. It can do 6K 60 RAW at 325 megabytes per second. And in terms of stills, it's a powerhouse there too. $6,000. For those capabilities, it makes me wonder, well, what is the R1 going to do and how much is it going to cost? Is it going to be the master of everything, as the rumors are pointing out? And so when I look back to the Sony A9 Mark III and the Sony Alpha 1, I kind of wonder how they're going to differentiate between these two cameras. And then again, I look back to the Sony A7R V with all its boosted specifications and how it's going to be able to shoot 8K 30 frames per second, 24/25, although we don't know if it's going to be full sensor readout. We don't know if it's going to be Super 35. We don't know the level of detail. And those other modes, they all seem to be either Super 35 or have a heavy crop. I'm really unsure about the rumors at this point. They sound like very interesting cameras, but I wouldn't be making buying decisions at this point. I wouldn't be planning my dollars. I'd wait to see more information. And one of the things I caution when it comes to Sony rumors, and this is no indication of the performance of Andreas at Sony Alpha Rumors or any of his other sites. It's an indication of Sony and how good Sony is at preventing information from being leaked. As always, I recommend waiting. We should know information in a couple of months, but until Sony actually makes the announcement, I found that rumors are rarely very correct when it comes to Sony. Even the Sony A7S III, about a month before that camera was to be announced, several things were dead wrong, including the sensor size. We'll know soon enough. Probably within a few months, we'll start to get some more rumors clarifying things. But do pay attention to what Sony Alpha Rumors is saying. Andreas does a very good job of clarifying what is a completely wild rumor and what has been validated. And when it comes to the stuff that's been validated, that's what I consider to be more serious. The rest of it, I take it with a grain of salt. So for all the information I've been throwing up on the side graphics here for the A7R V, for the A9 Mark III, please do take it with a grain of salt. But that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. And if you want to be kept up to date on the latest camera news and rumors, go ahead and subscribe and choose all notifications. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again soon.